Hey there, welcome back to Aaryan's Byte Academy. I am so excited to have you here for today's video where we will dive deep into Kotlin Generics. Whether you are new to this concept or looking to sharpen your Kotlin skills, make sure you stick around till the end because I have packed this video with practical examples that will help you understand how generics can make your code cleaner, reusable and more powerful. If you find this video helpful, don't forget to hit that like button, share it with your fellow developers and subscribe to the channel for more hands-on coding tutorials just like this. And of course, turn on the notification so you don't miss any of my future video. So let's start. Kotlin as a modern programming language offers a robust and flexible way to handle types through generics. Generics allow you write more reusable, type-safe and flexible code by defining classes, methods and properties that can operate on any type. In this comprehensive guide, you will dive deep into the core concept of Kotlin Generics, explain them in detail and provide extensive practical example and use cases to make these concepts self-explanatory. So, the very first question is, what are generics? Generics are a feature that allows classes, interfaces, methods and properties to operate on type specified later. Yeah, mind the word later. Type will not be defined in the beginning, type will be defined later. So we are not aware of the type in the beginning. So this is particularly useful for writing code that needs to work with multiple data types. Yes, we want to write a function that can hold any kind of data. We want to make a class that can hold any kind of data. In that case, generics are useful. Let me share one use case with you. Imagine you need a container that can hold any type of object such as an integer, string or custom object. Instead of writing separate classes for each type, we need not write separate classes. What we do as a beginner, if we need to store different kind of data, we create separate function specific to store that data only. But generics resolve this problem for us. We need to write only one function to hold that data and the data type is not known in advance. The data type will be given later on when we will be passing the data. So you can use generics to create a single reusable class that can handle any type. Yeah, literally that can handle any type. So in Kotlin, generics help create a single class, method or property that can work with different types of data, reducing code redundancy. Yeah, how it is reducing the code redundancy? Because now we are not writing separate function for every kind of data to store or to manipulate. We are just creating one function that will handle every kind of data, whether it is integer, string, float, double or any kind or even objects, and increasing reusability. So let's deep dive into the coding. Let's see what are the syntax of generics and how we can achieve this. So let me just write some code here. Yeah, so I have IntelliJ with me. You just need to create a class here. You can give it any name, like I have given generics here. So you need to, so now we will see some practical example of that generics. So class, I created a class and the class name is box and I have defined here this T. So what this T mean basically? T is defining the data type. So now you can think that T is not any data type in Kotlin. Yes, T is not a data type in Kotlin, but here we are creating this. Here we are creating this data type like T. So you must know that how we declare a variable in Kotlin. So in the similar way, we have declared a variable of type T. Actually it can be any word, it may be Z, it may be A, but as a convention we always take it as T. So here I have created a class that name is box, and that generics type is T defined here. So that will take one parameter in constructor. Its constructor, primary constructor this is the primary constructor of that class, and that type of data that it will accept is a T. So now just come here and I would create a function here, like I created a function here, function, and then I would define the type here. I define the type and the function name, like print content, and this print content function basically accept a parameter of type T. Yes. So now what we have done, we have created a class that's name is box, and that will accept the one data type. So we have, so if I ask you at this point of time what type of data is there, so you don't know basically. So this is what generics are solving the problem for us. So data type is not known to us in advance, that will be done in the later stage. So now we will just write one practical example of this. So let me just change this function name. Instead of get content actually or print content, let me give it a name get content, and it will take the parameter here. Let me enclose it inside a class. Let's correct the spelling here, get content. So that is the fine now, and this get content function will return also the type T data. So again, so actually I have created here a class box, thus type is T, and that will hold any kind of data. Then well content is a parameter that it will accept in its constructor. Then I created a function that is of type T basically. So actually this is not needed now. Function get content, and then I have defined the type of parameter it will accept and the value it will return. So I will return here, return variable name content. So it will return the type of content. And now function main, here main function, that is the entry point of the program. So here we will create an instance of that class box. So while int, I am giving it a name int box equal to box. So in box here I am passing a numeric value, like I pass 10, and it is taking it. So now you can see there is a class box that's type is not defined here, but that will accept a parameter that's name is contain in its primary constructor, and this get content function will return that value. That's why the return type of this has been defined as T. Now just create one more instance of this class. Well, like I created this time string box, and in this string box again I pass here I can pass any type of data. So I am writing here my name, that's Aaryan. I have done this. You can write one more, like while float box equal to box, and I pass here 12.5 f. So that should be float box. Yeah, that's float box. Yeah, so it is float box. Now let me print ln here. So int box dot get content, and we need not to have this. Actually this parameter is not required now for us because we are not passing anything here. And then you can just int box. So here you can use this string box dot get content, and here float box dot get content. So now you can see when we defined this class here, we were not aware the kind of data that we would pass, but we created it using the concept of generics, so that it can hold any kind of data. So here this T is defining it can that this class is being used as a generics, and we are passing this data from here. Like I passed 10, I passed one string, I passed some float value. So here you can see now we are getting the output here, that's 10, that's Aaryan, and 12.5. So when we defined this class, we were not aware of the type that will be passing. So this is called the implementation of generics. So this class using the concept of generics we have defined here, and there is a get content function that is returning the value, the kind of value we are passing it to, and then we just return the value. And here we are creating one instance of that class int box that having 10 numeric value. Again we created another instance that is having string value, and this is another variable we create, another instance we created, and that is having float value. So I hope it must be clear to you, how generics works. So now let's have, let's see how we can create the generic functions. So we have generics class, we have generic functions, and we have generics properties also. But in this video I will cover only the generic class and generic functions. So here add one more Kotlin class, Kotlin file, that's name is generic function. So this time we created a class, now we will create a generic function. So let me add it here. Yeah, so generics are not limited to classes. As I explained earlier, they can also be used with functions to create more reusable and flexible code. For example, let's take a use case. You may need a function that can print the content of any list. Yeah, we can pass any kind of list to that function regardless of the type of elements it holds. Instead of writing separate function for list, what we do actually in general, to print a numeric list we are writing a function, to print a float list we are writing another function, to print a string list we are writing another function. But that is a bad practice, and we are not following the concept of reusability. We should write a code so that can be reused as much as possible. So generics are helping us to achieve that thing. So in the process we learned how we can create generic classes. Now we will learn how to create generic functions. So instead of writing separate function for list of integer, strings, etc., you can write a single generic function. So let's write a practical of that. So create a function here, define the type of that. So here T, so it is not always T, you can give it any name. Print list is a function name, and I am writing here items, and items type will be what? List of T. There will be a T type of list. T means, actually T is not actually a type, but we are assuming it as a type here. So here we created a function that's name is print list, that will accept a list as a parameter, and the type we don't know. Type will be given when we will call this function. So any kind of data we can give this function, and this function simply print those for us. So that's name is item. You can write here item in items. This is for loop we have written, and we just write the print statement item. So we have printed this item. It will iterate over that list that we will be passing to this function. So now just create a main function. Function main, yeah, function is a keyword that I use to create functions, and main function is the entry point. So now we created val int list, and we will pass a integer list of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 list here, and I will just pass that's name will be string list, and in this I would pass some string value, like I passed here Aaryan, I passed here Bhav, I passed here Kendra, yeah. So this is a string list, and then val float list equal to list of, and you can pass float numbers here. So any number you want to pass, it should be float list here. So yeah, we have just written those lists. Now we need to print the lists to get the output. So print list, like int list, and here I would just print the string list, and I would pass the float list. So let me explain it for you again. We created a function here that's name is print list, and data type is not known to us. We have defined it generic. It will accept as a list as a parameter, and the data type of that list is also not defined. That will again be passed from the calling of this function. Then we iterated over that list using that for loop, item in items, and this println. Then we created a main function that is the entry point of the program. Then we created a list of is basically used to create a list in Kotlin. So int list, and we created a list of strings, and we created a list of floats. So there is a single function. This is a single function, and that is holding numeric value, that is holding string value, that is capable of holding float value. So assume that if there is no concept of generics, so what we have to do, we have to create a function with the string passing here, we have to create another function that have integer here, we have to create another function float. So that program will be lengthy, and there will not be the concept of reusability we will be implementing in that code. So now our code is reusable, maintainable, we have less lines of code, and we are achieving what we want to achieve. So this is what generics can help us to achieve. So the numeric list is being printed, string list is being printed, and the float list is being printed here. So I think you people must have understood the concept of generics now. I would be asking you people to use these things in practical, so that you know the things better. Use them practically, because when you write the code, you understand the things much better. So I hope the video will be fine for you all. You must have enjoyed this video. You must have learned the concepts of generic. So now I would request you to please like the video, share the video with your fellow developers or the learners, or you have your friends, and comments on the video if there is anything you want me to bring a video on, like you want to learn coroutines, like you want to learn the concept of flows or anything, so I will bring the videos on that also. So till then, bye bye, happy coding. Thank you all.